She was born within the golden walls of the imperial palace, a daughter of destiny. Yet from the moment of her first breath, fate conspired against her. A prophecy, whispered through the halls of power, foretold that if the emperor's firstborn daughter remained within the palace, the dynasty would crumble. Fearing the weight of such an omen, the emperor made a choice no father should. He ordered the infant princess to be spirited away, her name struck from the records, her existence swallowed by the shadows. To the world, she had never been born. To fate, she became a wandering echo, waiting to be heard. Far beyond the marble corridors of the palace, she grew nameless among poets and beggars, raised by the streets, nurtured by hardship. She knew neither the silk of royalty nor the steel of war. Instead, she mastered ink and melody, her world shaped by stolen verses and the hushed laments of those unseen by the empire. To her, the city streets were a kingdom of secrets, the stars above her only witnesses. She did not know of the throne that should have been hers, nor of the enemies who would see her dead if ever she was found. It was within the twilight alleys that a wandering opera troupe discovered her, a girl with fire in her eyes and wind in her voice. Their master, an old man with ink-stained fingers and a heart woven with forgotten stories, recognized something in her, a spirit untamed, a soul unshackled. He gave her a place among the masked performers, those who told truths disguised as myth, who whispered what kings dared not hear. She became the Shadow Phoenix, a name spoken in reverence and fear, a ghost upon the stage. Behind silken veils, she sang the sorrow of a nation, her voice a blade that cut through deception, revealing the pain beneath silken robes. As the seasons turned, her legend grew. The capital whispered of a masked woman whose performances made even the most callous weep. She danced before nobles and beggars alike, her presence both a mystery and a rebellion. But shadows have a way of creeping toward the light, and even as she soared upon the stage, the past waited, patient and inevitable. Within the imperial palace, the aging emperor felt his strength wane. The court, restless as vultures before a feast, murmured of succession. An heir was needed, one of true blood. The emperor's only acknowledged child was his son, Prince Zhao Rui. Though not by birth, he had been adopted and raised as the future ruler, bound by duty and the weight of expectation. Yet whispers of an abandoned daughter, a phantom of royal lineage, slithered through the halls. The past was not so easily erased. And so, the search began. Beyond the palace walls, fate had already set its course. On the night of a grand festival, the Shadow Phoenix took the stage once more, her performance a haunting lament of love and loss. Among the audience sat Zhao Rui, weary of the ceaseless game of power, seeking a moment's escape in the world of painted faces and forgotten dreams. But when she sang, something stirred within him, a pull, ancient and unexplainable. Her voice was like an echo from a life he had never lived, a story unfinished. Though he did not know her, he felt as if he had known her forever. He sought her after the performance, but shadows do not belong to the world of kings. By the time his inquiries reached the troupe, she had vanished like mist at dawn. The emperor's search soon bore fruit. Old records, buried in dust and deception, were unearthed. The lost princess was not lost at all. She had lived beneath their very eyes, a spectre upon the stage. When the decree came, it was not an invitation but a command. The Shadow Phoenix ceased to exist. She was Feng Xi, firstborn daughter of the emperor, rightful heir to the throne. Her world fractured. She was no longer a nameless wanderer, no longer the girl who sang beneath lantern light. She was a princess of the empire, bound by chains of duty heavier than any she had known. The palace doors opened to her, but they did not welcome her. Within those gilded walls, she was a stranger, a disruption, a threat. And among the scheming nobles and silent sentinels stood Zhao Rui, the prince who had unknowingly watched her from the darkness of an opera house. They were bound by fate long before they had met. He, the adopted son raised to rule, his bloodline not of the emperors, but forged through duty and expectation. She, the lost daughter, hidden from destiny. To the court, they were rivals, two paths converging toward the same throne. To each other, they were something far more dangerous, an impossible longing, a love that had no place in a world ruled by power. But in the palace, love was not a gift. It was a weapon, sharpened by betrayal and bound in silence. One evening, in the quiet seclusion of the palace gardens, Zhao Rui found her beneath the wistaria's violet bloom. For a moment, there was no crown, no duty, only two souls standing at the edge of what could never be. He reached into the folds of his robe and withdrew a slip of parchment, inked with careful strokes. He had written it for her, though he had never spoken her name. Like fire upon silk, you are untamed. Like the wind through the pines, you will not be held. I am but a man bound in gold and duty. And you, a phoenix who cannot be caged. She read the words in silence, then folded the parchment carefully, pressing it to her chest. No words passed between them, but the moment was enough. He had given her truth, not a plea, and she had accepted it, though she could never return it. Feng Xi did not belong to the stage anymore. She belonged to the empire. They trained her in the art of war, schooled her in diplomacy, forged her into a ruler. Yet no matter how they shaped her, she remained the girl who once danced in the streets, who sang stories of sorrow and hope. She carried the weight of a past they could not erase and a truth she could not ignore. She had been born into a world that had already decided her fate. As the days turned to months, the crown grew heavier. The emperor's illness worsened. The court teetered on the brink of chaos. A decision loomed, one ruler, one throne. The ministers would decide between Feng Xi, the rightful heir returned from the shadows, or Zhao Rui, the prince forged in fire and expectation. She knew what she must do. On the eve of the decision, she walked alone through the palace gardens, where wisteria swayed in defiance of the coming storm. She could not be both princess and shadow. She could not be both ruler and woman. And so, she made her choice. At dawn, the court gathered. But Feng Xi was not there. That night, the Shadow Phoenix returned to the only stage she had ever called home. The palace doors remained closed. The ministers sat in stunned silence, but the people gathered. They watched as she danced beneath the lanterns, a farewell to a world that had never been hers. In the palace, Zhao Rui stood at the highest balcony, watching as the golden glow of the opera house flickered like a dying star. He knew he would never see her again. Some spirits are too wild for the chains of men. Some loves are not meant to be held, only remembered. When the final note faded, the Shadow Phoenix was gone. Her legend remained, whispered from lips to ears, carried on the wind. Some are born to rule, others to be free, but Feng Xi was neither. She was a fleeting ember, a song lost to the wind, a legend whispered in the dark. Neither crown nor chains could hold her, for she belonged not to the empire, nor to fate, but to the story that would outlive them all.